Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we're coming at you with a second round mock draft here. This is built off of the first round mock we had done on the channel previously. There will be a card for that right here, so go ahead and click that if you haven't watched that video yet. That will lead into this one. That way, you'll make a lot more sense based off the needs that we filled. So now at pick 33 here, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you can see that I've already mocked a quarterback and a tight end to them. Those needs have been filled. Obviously, tackle is a very big need, but before we even look at that, I just want to remind you guys, hit that subscribe button if you are new to our channel. Also, be sure to comment your favorite team, what you want your team to do in the draft, and also smash that like button. Let's try and get 250 likes here on this video. That would be absolutely phenomenal if you guys could smash the like button. We would really appreciate that. Now, okay, at pick 33, we filled in that QB tight end spot. Now, the part of this team that needs to get really built up is part of that secondary and the offensive line. So now looking at the tackles that are available, that's kind of where we're going to want to look. Dillon Radunz is here. However, I don't know if I'm comfortable reaching yet. There's a pretty good collection here that I feel like I could grab here with this later pick. That's around 46. So maybe I'll wait on that if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to actually go with Trayvon Merrick out of TCU, the safety there. He can play in the box. They need to get a lot better out there. They have Andrew Wingard right now playing there. They traded Ronnie Harrison. They've moved on from some of their other safeties from the past. They need to improve in that area. Trayvon Merrick comes in, maybe a little bit of a reach here at the top end of the second round, but they have so many picks. They have to be sure that they're getting guys who are going to come in, be starters for them, and really improve that football team. I think Merrick does that. Now looking at the New York Jets, I have them grab a quarterback and a cornerback in the first round. Looking at where they're sitting at here with pick 34, I think that there's two real options at this point. I think that Travis Etienne and Terrace Marshall Jr. are both serious options that could go off the board here at this point. I also want to point out that I think Javonte Williams being here on the board is something to really monitor as well for the Jets, as well as Michael Carter, the other back out of UNC. I would not be surprised if they went in those directions. Let's see. I do not believe that the Jets have another second-round pick. They do not. They do have the third this year, however, from Seattle in the Jamal Adams trade. I'm going to go ahead and mock Travis Etienne to the New York Jets. I think that that makes a lot of sense. With where they're at, they're able to grab that running back, the one that maybe would have been the first one off the board if he had come out last year, goes this year, is not the first running back off the board, but he is a very good one. The New York Jets grab him at 34, continue to build up that offense. And remember, they have Denzel Mims, who wasn't really healthy last year. He's going to be that wide receiver option. That's why they feel like they can pass on Terrace Marshall Jr. here at this point. Now we have the in-division rival, the Miami Dolphins, and they're probably so thankful that they were able to see Terrace Marshall Jr. on the board. He is the best wide receiver available here. He will be their selection. Comes in, fills a big need for them. They need a number 2 wide receiver across from Devontae Parker. They get it with Marshall Jr., highly productive receiver at LSU, found a lot of success with Burrow, and I think he'll continue to find success in the NFL. Now the Atlanta Falcons, who went with a QB actually in the first round, they really badly need to address that edge position though, and that will be Azeez Ojulari. You see him staying in Georgia here, playing for the Atlanta Falcons. I really like that fit and combination. He's an athlete that's going to come off the edge for them. They've been badly needing to address that edge position for the past few years. It's a little hard to see them doing it at pick 4 in this draft. Maybe if they trade their first round pick down a little bit, I could see them grabbing a guy like Kwity Paye possibly. However, with them sticking at 4 in this mock draft, Azeez Ojulari is the pick at 36. Now the Cincinnati Bengals, who went with a wide receiver, another LSU wide receiver in that fact, at pick 5 in the first round. Now they need to come and grab their tackle. That'll be Dillon Radunz. They feel comfortable grabbing him here. They need someone who can badly play right tackle. Jonah Williams has been pretty solid. They need to improve that whole offensive line outside of Jonah Williams. Radunz will come in, could probably play right tackle early. If they want to move Jonah Williams to right tackle, they could do that as well. Radunz will be the selection here. I like that for them. They need to protect Joe Burrow. That is their biggest asset moving forward. They're getting new jerseys. They're rebranding around Joe Burrow, and this is part of that rebrand, grabbing a tackle here at pick 37. Now at pick 38, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who just named their new head coach today, Nick Sirianni, the offensive coordinator from the Indianapolis Colts, which makes me think that they're going to stick with one of their QBs there, whether it's Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. That's yet to be seen. It'll kind of come down to his decision. I did mock them a wide receiver in the first round to help that process out. Now they badly need to address defense, and I think linebacker is where they look the most. I think Nick Bolton out of Missouri is going to come in. He's a tackle machine, a guy who can move all over the place, gives you a lot of versatility on that defense. He's going to make plays, make tackles. That's what they badly need. They grab one here at 38, Nick Bolton out of Missouri. I really like that fit for them, and I think that Philly is going to be moving in the right direction, grabbing Bolton and also the receiver that they took in the first round. Now, the Detroit Lions are on the board, and they've got an interesting situation going on at the wide receiver position. Kenny Galladay's a free agent. Marvin Jones could be a free agent. Those are their top two pass catchers. They need to find a wide receiver option that's cheap. I'm assuming they're going to want to keep one of those two. I think Rondale Moore out of Purdue is actually the selection here. A speed guy, someone who's a little bit smaller frame, kind of moves all around the field, can play in the slot. I like that for Detroit. Gives Matthew Stafford a security blanket wide receiver in case free agency doesn't go as planned for them. Rondale Moore comes in, is going to be that lead receiver option for the Detroit Lions pretty early on in his career, especially if Galladay and Marvin Jones both find their way out of Detroit. Now we have the Carolina Panthers, and they are quite an interesting team here. Quarterback, a very big need for them. Teddy Bridgewater under contract for 2 more years. However, that third year, the final one, is not fully guaranteed. Only $5 million guaranteed. They could cut him and only accrue $5 million to dead cap. That is probably what they'll do, but I just don't see them grabbing Mac Jones yet at this point, or Kyle Trask. In fact, I see them looking at linebacker and grabbing an athlete here. That'll be Dylan Moses out of Alabama. We see another linebacker go here. They need to vastly improve their defense. They went with the cornerback round 1. They're going with a linebacker round 2. They have to get stronger and better on that side of the football. They had low expectations coming in. They had lost Luke Kuechly, obviously to retirement. They're a young defense. They need to continue building, continue getting better, more athletic, and that's what they're doing here with Dylan Moses and also the first-round corner that they selected. Now we have the Denver Broncos here on the board, and quarterback is in the picture for them. I would not rule out them looking at a QB long-term because Drew Lock isn't necessarily going to be that guy, I don't think, for them. They have a new GM. Now, is that going to affect this pick? I don't think so. I think it'll actually be Jalen Phillips, the edge out of Miami. He really stepped up this year with Gregory Rousseau's opt-out. He might not have gotten a real opportunity to prove himself. Now he's showcased that he is worthy of a second-round pick. He's going to go in the top 60 picks of the NFL draft this year. Very deserving. Really played himself into this opportunity. Also, there's another Miami edge that's really, stepped up, Quincy Roche. He'll be another guy to watch for as we go through this process. Another team that's really defensive needy, that'll be the Dallas Cowboys. They had lost Byron Jones last year. Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith didn't seem to be as dominant this year as they had been in the past together. And they just have to improve that whole defense. That cornerback position, the edge position is a real question for them. Obviously, they had some guys like Alden Smith. They brought in Everson Griffin for a little bit this season. They need to find a serious second edge rusher to go across from DeMarcus Lawrence. I think that's the position that they'll look at. And I also think the interior of that defensive line could use some help. I'm actually going to mark Christian Barmore here. He is a run-stopping machine, block sheds like a menace. I think that he can really impact the run game on his own. I think that would be a phenomenal ad for the Dallas Cowboys. This is really good value. I think he could easily be a top 30 player in this class. They get him at pick 42. It's a non-flashy position, I know. But they just need to improve on that defense. Maybe Trayvon Diggs with another year takes another step forward. Also, the Cowboys need to find that number 2 corner. I just thought it was a little bit of a reach with who was on the board yet. At pick 43, we have the in-division rival New York Giants, and I had actually mocked them an edge in the first round. They need to improve that offense, though, really badly. I think that they come back, look at the offensive side of the ball this selection, and I think that they go looking here. It's really hard to see one that I would love for them. I think more than likely they'll actually probably take Jalen Waddle if they have the opportunity. In round 1, sorry. But looking here, there is not a far and away obvious selection, in my opinion, for them on that offensive side of the ball. Cornerback, I don't really like any of the options here for them either. let's go back to that wide receiver position. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's kind of more of a physical outside imposing red zone threat. I don't think that they really need to add that at this point. I think that they'll actually go Nico Collins out of Michigan. I think that fit is a little bit more smooth for the New York Giants. I like him coming in to New York. They need to improve that wide receiver position. They need to give more weapons to Daniel Jones. They do that here with Nico Collins. At pick 44, we have the San Francisco 49ers, another team that they're going to have to address that cornerback position really badly. Cornerbacks this year, though, it's kind of thinned out after the top two guys. It's hard to see a team really grabbing one this early into the second round. However, looking at that team, that's badly what they need. They also could use an interior offensive lineman to replace their left guard. Guys like Wyatt Davis are here. Trey Smith as well. Obviously, we have some centers here, too, that gives them a little bit of versatility on that offensive line. But I ultimately think cornerback is where they're going to go. And I think I'm going to mock them Greg Newsome, the second out of Northwestern. He's a physical athlete, gives you something on the outside that you badly need there in San Francisco. Remember, Richard Sherman is probably going to be out of San Francisco. Jason Verrett, I'm not sure what his future looks like there. He played fairly well this year, but historically throughout his career, he's had injury problems. I don't know if they can trust him being around long-term either. Now, at the LA Chargers here, they need a cornerback as well. However, with Wyatt Davis on the board here, that could be an option. They also badly need a center. That is kind of where I think I am looking the most. Could be Landon Dickerson out of Alabama. Remember, Wyatt Davis did sustain an injury in the national title game. I'm going to go ahead and mock Landon Dickerson to the LA Chargers. I think that makes the most sense. They already grabbed a tackle round one. They're going to work on improving that offensive front there, get a much better offensive line. Landon Dickerson comes in, fills a big need in the interior of that offensive line. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars are back on the clock, and this is what I'm looking at here. You can grab one of these offensive tackles, and I'm actually going to mock them Daniel Falele out of the U of M. He is a huge offensive tackle, 6'9", I believe, 400 pounds. His upside is incredible at the offensive tackle spot, moves fairly well. I think if he comes into Jacksonville, he franchise tackle that they get to grab a little bit later here, because he's not as proven, not as far into his NFL or into his football career as some of these other prospects. He's very raw. Don't get me wrong, but the physicals are all there. He could be absolutely a phenomenal tackle in the NFL. He comes into Jacksonville, gives them a guy who can run grade on the move, and he's also going to be able to protect Trevor Lawrence there long-term. I really like that selection for them. Now at pick 47, we have the New England Patriots, and I think interior defensive line is where they are looking. I'm actually going to mock them Davian Nixon out of Iowa. They need to get stronger in that interior of that defensive line. For the last few years, it's been guys like Danny Shelton, Lawrence Guy. They need to improve there. Davian Nixon comes in, gives them a physical player right in the middle of that defense. Big Ten Iowa, you know what you're getting there. You're getting some strong, beefy boys that you need into that defensive front. He's going to come in, be that nose tackle for them. I really like that selection for New England. At pick 48, we have the Arizona Cardinals now, who really, really badly need to address the corner and edge position. The edge position specifically because guys like Marcus Golden might not be back. Hassan Reddick, half of his production came in one game this year. Chandler Jones is aging, coming off of an injury. Those are all things to consider here if you're Arizona. Also, that cornerback position, really big need for the Arizona Cardinals as well. Patrick Peterson also aging. Obviously, they have Byron Murphy, who's young yet, but they could improve by grabbing another corner. But at this point, I'm actually going to mock them Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. He is a physical running back. He's a little compact, 5'10", I believe, 220 pounds or so. He can lay a hit. He can pass block. He gives you a lot of different things. He can catch the ball a little bit. Very fluid out in space. I think that this makes all the sense in the world. Gives you contract flexibility over Kenyon Drake. Chase Edmonds really hasn't done a lot as the backup there either. I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be looking for a high-impact player. Javonte Williams is going to give them that, especially paired with the first-round pick of Kyle Pitts. This offense is going to come back even scarier next year around Kyler Murray. At pick 49, we have the Las Vegas Raiders here, and they have a very, very big need. on that defense. Safety is a really big need. Edge is a really big need. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go to that safety position and mock them Javon Holland out of Oregon. Holland's going to come in. They really badly need to address the safety position. We have a Raiders mock draft up on our channel. We'll put one here for you in the cards. Make sure you click that if that's something you're interested in. And the Raiders, they need to improve that secondary. They had some corners playing safety this past year. Their safety position's rather thinned out. They don't have a lot of consistent play there. Holland comes in. He's a solid player at every phase of the game as being a safety, can creep up into the box, can play in coverage, doesn't give you an elite trait necessarily, but is going to be very solid, very steady, something that the Vegas Raiders really need on that defense. Now at pick 50, we have the Miami Dolphins yet again with their 4th pick in the first 2 rounds here. We've seen them address wide receiver, running back, offensive tackle, and now let's go look at that linebacker position. Cameron McGrone, a guy that sticks out to me, but I'm ultimately going to mock them Jabril Cox out of LSU, an athlete, someone who is really consistent again for LSU this past year. I think that's something Brian Flores and the management there in Miami is going to value. A guy that's going to be consistent, played at a high level in a really tough conference. The Miami Dolphins are looking to improve that front 7. Jabril Cox comes in and is a clear pathway to doing that. Now at pick 51, I'm sure Washington is ecstatic with how this has fallen. They're going to grab Mac Jones, one of the guys who was a finalist for the Heisman, won the national title there in Alabama against Ohio State. Absolutely phenomenal season. Him and Devontae Smith were dynamic together, and now Washington gets to bring him in with grabbing a tackle in the first round. That offensive line is much improved already, grabbing that tackle. Now they get a guy who can develop into that franchise QB possibly. I feel like they would feel really good about this situation with Mac Jones falling all the way to them at 51. Remember, they, in a mock with trades, they would maybe even be willing to move up into this area to ensure that they get him. Luckily, though, for them, he falls to 51 now in this mock. At pick 52, we have the Chicago Bears, another team with a real QB need. However, I think that they're going to address that via free agency or via the trade market. I don't see them reaching on a QB yet at this point. In fact, I think that they'll go double down on the offensive line and grab Wyatt Davis here. They need to add a guard into that interior. Wyatt Davis comes in next to the tackle that they grabbed in the first round. I think that's a no-brainer selection for Chicago. They badly need to improve that front 5 of theirs on that offensive line. Wyatt Davis comes in, helps the run game. David Montgomery's going to get some more holes. Wyatt Davis comes in to Matt Nagy's offense, gives them a physical road grader, someone who can get out ahead and get blocks on the linebackers into the second and even the third level against safeties. I really like this selection for the Chicago Bears. At pick 53 now, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and wow, oh wow, do they have some QB dilemma going on. Also, there's quite a bit of change going on for them. It sounds like their D coordinator, or not their D coordinator, rather, their defensive backs coach is on the way out to LA to become the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers. Also, I had mentioned their offensive coordinator got hired by the Philadelphia Eagles today. A lot of shakeup there in Indianapolis. Now it's going to be about finding consistency. They grabbed a cornerback in the first round, something they badly need to do. Here they come back, grab Jackson Carman out of Clemson, the offensive tackle. Whoever that QB is going forward, they're going to have to figure that out. Phillip Rivers retired. Jacoby Brissett might not be back, but you need to protect him. Costanzo could retire. Jackson Carman comes in. Really solid player. Good pick for the Indianapolis Colts. Now another team of the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans, are on the board. They grabbed an edge in the first round, something that is badly needed. Let's go check the interior defensive line. We got Tommy Togiai here out of Ohio State. Also, I think wide receiver is a real need, and I don't think there is a better fit than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had mentioned his physical nature, red zone threat, a red zone target, and also a guy who can run block. Tennessee is built off the run. They're going to have to replace their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, and doing so, they're going to need to find more ways to help Derrick Henry run the ball. The 2,000-yard rusher, Amon-Ra St. Brown, is going to be an option to do that. Really physical wide receiver, can get out and block. He's going to be used in a variety of ways. Could be a motion guy, can even chip linebackers. I think that's going to be a very valuable pick for the Tennessee Titans moving forward. Now we have the Seattle Seahawks with their first pick of the draft. And I think you got to be looking at that edge position as a very big need. And they will fill it with Hamilcar Rashed Jr. out of Oregon State. They stay in the northwest part of the nation, grabbing Hamilcar Rashed Jr. here. Obviously, they need to improve that edge position. They lost Jadeveon Clowney. They just don't get after the QB. They brought in Carlos Dunlap. He was solid in his short time there. LJ Collier really hasn't lived up to his selection. This league's about getting after the QB, passing the football, and cover guys. And right now, they have some cover guys. They don't get after the QB frequently enough. Hamilcar Rashed Jr. is going to help them do that. Stays up in the northwest part of the United States, like I had mentioned. I think this is a good fit for both Seattle and for Rashed Jr. Now, at pick 56, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who brought in Dwayne Haskins today. So that QB position is kind of figured out, at least for a little while. My guess is Roethlisberger stays for another year. Dwayne Haskins learns under him. They also have Mason Rudolph there. They've got some options, and they'll figure something out with that QB spot. I think right now, part of it is they want to look at that running back position, see how they can improve. And I think that is actually going to be Kenneth Gainwell here. A little bit of a reach based off what the board says. They had him ranked as the 91st best player. However, he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage the last season he played. He wasn't opt-out this year. The guy catches the ball out of the backfield incredibly well, had over 60 catches for Memphis, over 550 yards receiving. He's a compact, quick back, really good acceleration, moves out in space very, very well, can catch the ball out of the backfield in a variety of ways, wheel routes, in-out routes, swings, whatever you need him to do, he can do it. Pittsburgh was at their best when Le'Veon Bell was catching passes out of the backfield for them. Kenneth Gainwell comes in, gives them that element in their offense. Now, another team in the LA Rams here that did not have a first-round pick, obviously, for the trade for Jalen Ramsey. And now here, they have to really badly address that offensive tackle spot as well. Andrew Whitworth came back this year. I don't think that he's going to play yet another season. I'm sure he is calling it quits. They're going to go with Walker Little out of Stanford. Gives them that big physical tackle. They like to run the football, zone run scheme. That's a big part of Sean McVay, what he does, play action pass. Walker Little is going to be a guy that can come in, be a run blocking tackle, also a solid pass protector out of Stanford. He comes in as a phenomenal fit with the LA Rams. At pick 58, we have the Cleveland Browns now. Another team with another big need at that cornerback position. We've seen some teams not even be able to confidently grab one. They have Denzel Ward. The Greedy Williams has been so injured already through his first 2 years of his career. I don't know if I could see them going with another one. Shaun Wade is here, though. That is something I would really monitor at this point. Also, let's check that interior defensive line. I think that they'll wait a year on that. And I also think that linebacker is a really big need for them. And I'm actually going to mock Pete Werner out of Ohio State to them. They badly need to improve in that area. Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, saw what it was like in Minnesota having two dynamic linebackers in Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. Now they get a dynamic linebacker in Pete Werner, someone who's going to come in, stays in state there in Ohio, and is the starting linebacker for the Cleveland Browns next to Mack Wilson. At pick 59, we have the Baltimore Ravens. First round, it says we had grabbed them an interior defensive line. We had actually grabbed them an interior offensive lineman. But now I think that they need to look at that edge position really badly. And a big reason why, for those of you who don't know, is Matthew Judon's contract. He is a free agent at this end of the year. I don't know what his situation looks like, if they find a way to keep him or not. Lamar Jackson's going to be due an extension this season. I think that they're going to start looking at ways to save money. And I think that way of doing that is grabbing Quincy Roche here, the edge out of Miami I had mentioned earlier. He goes to Baltimore here, gives them an athlete off the edge, something that they badly need. He comes in to Baltimore, will be a dominant edge for them, or not a dominant edge early, but an edge that is viable for them to pass rush, get after the QB, and will also be able to be coached up into playing the run game a little bit more efficiently. A really big deal there in the AFC North. At pick 60, we have the New Orleans Saints, a team that went with linebacker. Now at QB here, I'm going to mock Kyle Trask to them. I think that this is really good value based on his season. He threw for 40 touchdowns, had a phenomenal year for Florida. And here in New Orleans, it sounds like Drew Brees is retiring, and they already have weapons around Trask. I think he's going to be able to come in, compete with a guy like Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston for that starting job early. And worst case, he gives you contract flexibility behind those guys moving forward. Trask comes in. He could be the starter as soon as week 1, or he could be a starter a year from now. Who knows? But I think that he is a fit here in New Orleans. At pick 61, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we had actually grabbed them an interior defensive line. This is where the mistake was with Baltimore earlier that I had mentioned. But now a big thing would be grabbing an edge for them to give them long-term options behind Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. That'll be Carlos Basham Jr. out of Wake Forest. He comes in as a physical member of that front four for a team. He's a good edge, solid player, can get after the QB a little bit, also impactful in the run game. That's something Tampa Bay needs long-term. It's going to be about staying cheap, saving money on the margins when they can. Basham Jr. gives them long-term potential for doing so, whether that's Shaq Barrett or Jason Pierre-Paul that they have to move on. That's yet to be seen. But it gives you a year to develop an edge that'll be able to replace one of those two guys depending on the contracts. Now at 62, we have the Buffalo Bills, a team that has played so phenomenally this year. Very possible that they could even make it to the Super Bowl. We'll have to monitor what happens with Patrick Mahomes and that concussion protocol. But now here at pick 62, having grabbed a cornerback in the first round, I think they will look at that linebacker position and grab Cameron McGrone. I think to Sean McDermott and that whole staff, it's very important to continue building that defense up. We've seen what Josh Allen's capable of doing. It sounds like Brian Daboll will be the offensive coordinator there for at least another year after the Chargers went in a different direction at that head coaching position. I feel like they're content with their offense with Diggs. They need to build up that defense, become a really, really solid team. They need a linebacker next to Tremaine Edmonds, and McGrone's going to come in and give you that. At pick 63, we have the Green Bay Packers, another team that's very possible that they could be playing in the Super Bowl. It'll be them versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We had mocked them a wide receiver in the first round. I think offensive tackle is a very big need for them. I think that they come in, grab Spencer Brown out of Northern Iowa, gives you a tackle. Obviously, Bakhtiari had sustained a torn ACL. That'll probably keep him out for the most of next season. They need to have a tackle to protect their franchise QB, Aaron Rodgers. Spencer Brown comes in. He's close to the States, staying in Northern Iowa, or playing in Northern Iowa, now going to Wisconsin. And I think this is a match made in heaven, honestly. You get a physical tackle, someone who can protect your QB, also help you in the run game with Aaron Jones. I like that fit at pick 63. And the final pick of the second round is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, remember, if you guys did enjoy this mock draft, hit that like button. But now for the Kansas City Chiefs, I am going to mock them. Let's go Trey Smith out of Tennessee. I like that fit for them. They need to improve that interior of the offensive line. They do so here, grabbing Trey Smith. We see this second round yet again as we scroll through this. Remember, if you guys did enjoy this video, smash that like button. We really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here, please hit that subscribe button. We're right at 1,700 subscribers. So who knows, if you hit that subscribe button right now, you could be number 1,700. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.